Hey, how are you? My name is Lukashov. I'm the founder of Fintent. We are a deal sourcing platform focused on helping deal makers like Ps, investment banks, VCs, etc., with deal sourcing to help them find relevant deals. So what we'll do today is that we'll talk a little bit about current deal sourcing tactics, like some of the common ones. Obviously, we'll talk about challenges for each and like how I can help. We'll dive into how we at Fintent leverage AI to help with deal sourcing. And yeah, and then finally, we'll talk through some deal sourcing trends for PEs, IBs, and select groups of companies that would be relevant to this group here. So to start off, let's talk about some of the common deal sourcing tactics and some potential challenges and like kind of high level ways of how AI can help. Some of these things we are doing for our clients. Some of these things are more kind of like high level thought leadership and aspirational. And of course, we'll dive into each of these in more detail with some examples as well. So first things first, of course, there's networking, right? Networking is great. It's probably the most effective way of getting deals done. Referrals are amazing as well. The problem, of course, with that is that it's not systematic. It's very much time consuming, and it's difficult to figure out who you should be networking with outside of kind of like the folks that are already in your network. Like, how do you effectively expand your network? So AI can help you surface relevant executives, and we'll talk about kind of like some ways that it can help you do this. Same idea applies to intermediaries and advisors, right? It's difficult to figure out which advisor to talk to, who is going to be the right partner for you for the deal, for the sourcing sprint, right? So yeah, I can help you recommend relevant advisors. For conferences, AI can help with prioritization and meeting prep, right? But basically doing summaries of kind of like summaries of speaker profiles, company analysis, recommending similar companies, etc. For deal marketplaces like Axel, I think they're obviously great. I mean, one of the challenges there is that the deals are limited and they're available to competition. But of course, there are a ton of different use cases for deal marketplaces internally to make them more efficient. And then finally, for market insights, there are a lot of different market insights out there. There's basically too much reading, and there are a lot of conflicting options that are available out there, right? So the challenge basically is that what you want to be doing is that you want to dynamically aggregate those insights, and then compare and contrast the market reports with AI. Finally, direct outreach. It's something that is easy to mess up at scale, especially using AI. And a lot of times people use AI in absolutely the wrong way when they're doing direct outreach. Yeah, so what AI can help with is that if you're using it right, is to help you quickly build relevant lists and do outreach prioritization so you know who to spend time on and you reach out to the right people at the right time. Cool. So let's dive into this in a little bit more detail, right? In terms of kind of recommendation engine for networking and to help you surface relevant execs, how can AI help? So one, of course, in order to use AI, you need to have the right data in place, right? So you need to first organize your network and then pool work history for people within your network, right? So that's step one. Step two, you can build an executive similarity network, like basically a matrix, right? That will look at the work history of people in your network, and then compare the similarity of the companies that they worked at with the companies that you're going after. That can be, of course, be done dynamically. They can be done at scale. And then from there on, it will tell you, okay, so based on the particular sourcing sprint or the mandate that you have, these are the people that you should be reaching out to because they have relevant work experience. Right, so that's step one. Then, of course, what you can do is that you can then take the same concept and then expand it to people that are outside of your network, so you can know which people and which key execs you should be reaching out to, and that can help you with a deal, right? So, like, it will essentially kind of help you network more effectively. And for something like this doesn't necessarily need to be updated too often. You can update it on every 6 months, every year or so. People don't People, of course, change jobs, but it doesn't happen too often. So the people that you're going to be reaching out to are going to be relevant for the most part over the course of the year, right? So you can update it every 6 months or every year. The same idea applies to intermediaries and advisors. So obviously you have a number of people like intermediaries and advisors in your network already, but their focus kind of changes over time, right? You have different people that might be working on different deals. And the challenge is, once again, is like to figure out who you should be reaching out to, right? So what you can do is that you can analyze the websites of the advisors. You can analyze the LinkedIn profile, any of the kind of social media or news posts that are relevant to these advisors, organize that information in terms of kind of the focus for each individual advisor, come up with a similarity matrix for between essentially kind of the advisors and the deals that you're going after, and then dynamically and AI can help you dynamically recommend relevant advisors that you should be reaching out to for any given deal. For something like this, because of the fact that this changes more dynamically, you would want more periodic updates, right? Like more frequent updates, so like monthly updates, or weekly. Weekly is probably overkill. For conferences, AI can help you quickly analyze attendees and exhibitors of the company. It can look at, it can help you suggest similar companies based on kind of your, like in terms of kind of the exhibitors, as well as speakers, et cetera, based on the people that you're, based on the sourcing spread, based on the companies that you're going after, based on your investment target criteria. It can, of course, for any given, like if you're going in for a meeting, it can quickly help you fetch company news and do speaker analysis. So you can have some company analysis. So you can have some talking points, right? When you go in and you're getting into the meeting, that's more relevant. That's on demand. So you don't have to spend a lot of time basically prepping to these. Yeah, and then if you're looking at market insights, the idea here is that once again, so LLMs are great at analyzing a lot of like natural language and a lot of text, right? So what it can help you do is compare and contrast a lot of different reports, right? Because you're not going to spend time, like if you're spending time reading one report, right? That obviously, I would say, like most people probably don't do that and skim through it as is already, right? You're definitely not going to spend time, reading 5, 10 different reports, right? So what it can help you do is that one, it can help you compress reports into an easy to digest, basically easy to digest kind of talking points and summary, and can layer on public data on top of that, can look at, analyze also the portfolio company data that you have, and then finally do some external data analysis if you're going in and buying data to layer it on top of the existing data. Yeah, and then finally, last but not least, for direct outreach, it can really help you with hyper-targeted outreach. Because the thing is, like right now, most people think about using AI and kind of and outreach in a way, in a pretty kind of simplistic way, right? It's more like, okay, I'm going to go to PitchBook, I'm going to pull a list of companies, I'll go to ZoomInfo, I'll get some contacts, then I'll like type up some, get some messaging and a sequence done with AI with some minor personalization, and just gonna spam that list with over the course of a few weeks. And then what ends up happening, because of the fact that that's like pretty easy to do for a lot of people, you get a lot of irrelevant messaging. It's very like, meaning like business owners get a lot of irrelevant messaging in their inbox, and it's very difficult to break through the noise. Ideally, what you would do here is that you would come up with a list of really highly targeted companies that are ready to talk to you. You reach out to them with personalized messaging that shows that you've done your homework on them, that you're the right type of company, you're the right acquirer for them. But the problem, of course, with that is that that's very challenging to do at scale, right? It's not really scalable. And like, how do you actually figure out who to focus on, right? So that's where I can help. Like, once again, in order to do this effectively, you need to have a lot of the right data in place and in-house, right? So firmographic data on companies, websites, companies' social media, presence, company news, etc. But once you have that in place, AI can really help you quickly build lists of similar companies and relevant companies based on your kind of your sourcing sprint or investment criteria. It can it can help you craft some messaging as well. And by aggregating public data and some alternative data, you can then also figure out the timing component and kind of personalization component to ensure that you are, one, reaching out to the right companies at the right time, but also with differentiated messaging. Cool. So with that, let's talk a little bit about Fintent and how we help our clients do just that. So our platform is focused, it has like two parts, right? So one is the AI-powered company search, right? To help you quickly build a list of companies based on kind of the underlying data for these companies' websites, company firmographic data, kind of research, like employee growth trends, et cetera. And then, of course, we're also producing predictive signals on companies by looking at the alternative data that is available out there on that, right? So we're specifically tapping into the programmatic ad ecosystem, right? So the best way to think about it is that anytime you go to a website like Forbes, Wall Street Journal, Entrepreneur, any website that's serving you ads, within half a second of you landing on that page, they're trying to understand as much as possible about you as a user so they can serve you the most relevant ad. That happens billions of times a day. And then what we're actually able to do is that we can see, okay, so an article is being read on Forbes. That article is about financial audit or valuations or investment banks, sale of business, et cetera. And then and then we can say, okay, it's someone from company XYZ that's doing the research. And for about 50% of the interactions, we can actually say it's someone from the management team or the or finance, legal job function that's doing the research. So long story short is that we have this, we do this for about 1 million companies in the US with a focus on the middle market. So we can basically say is that we have this stream of kind of behavioral data that helps us understand what employees of companies are researching. And then armed with this data, we ran a bunch of back tests, right? To say, okay, let's look at companies that have been acquired. Let's look at companies that have raised funding or announced bankruptcies. Let's look at their research activity 3 to 15 months prior to these events and then compare it to a control group of companies that haven't gone through these events, but corporate actions, but look like similar companies, right? And then based on that, we're coming up with these predictive signals that can tell you that such as the M&A score, the cap rate score, and distress score. In the case of the M&A score, it can tell you, okay, here are out of the list of 1,000 companies, here are 5, 10, 15 that are exploring a sale of business today, right? So you should be reaching out to them and ensure you get in there so you don't miss out on that deal. Cool. And so put together some examples of this in the e-commerce space. We're really kind of across the board. We work across different verticals, but there are a number of examples in the e-commerce space as well. So in this particular case, we're looking at American Greetings, where the acquisition was announced in December of 2024. You can see that we flagged them with a high M&A score and a high deal maker score in January of 2024. Because we basically saw that employees of American Greetings were reading articles about investment banks, corporate law firms, private equity, then later you can see like venture debt sim, valuation. And then we also saw that American Greetings were being researched by EY, Wells Fargo, Jefferies, and a bunch of other deal makers. Actually, Elliott Management towards the end, and I believe Elliott Management actually ended up purchasing the company. So in terms of kind of like how our clients are using us and like kind of similar solutions to like deal sourcing solutions like ourselves, right? One, they will use it for company analysis and ad hoc company lookup. Two, they will use it to monitor a list of companies with predictive signals, right? To go in and say, okay, so I have this list of 1,000, 2,000, 5,000 companies in my CRM. Help me figure out which ones of these I should be reaching out to, and essentially kind of like an early warning radar for deals, right? To help you prioritize outreach. Conference preparation, sourcing spreads for sure to help you find relevant list of companies based on your investment and target criteria. And then custom insights, right? It's like, once again, we have a lot of underlying data that's really interesting. We can pull interesting insights from it, and like with our standard signals, we're really kind of scratching the surface of what's possible with this data. Cool. And then in terms of kind of like an example of these custom insights that I think would be interesting for this group is what we've done is we've analyzed about the research activities of about 3,000 deal makers. So looking at boutique IBs, large IBs, larger PEs, as well as middle market PEs, right? We looked at their research activity on different groups of companies. So software companies, e-commerce, data, and AI companies. And then we also looked at the research activities of these companies on kind of like on articles that are related to sale of business, right? Just essentially trying to figure out, is there an appetite? Like, what does the appetite look like for deal makers in terms of kind of these different groups of companies, and then vice versa for these different groups of companies on is there interest in for them to actually exit? Are they exploring M&A activity? And what we found is, I think it's pretty positive for this group here, as well as is consistent with what we're hearing from our prospects and clients. So we essentially are seeing that. So what you're seeing here, that's the number of companies researched across the board by all the deal makers that we've analyzed, right? And you can see that the number of companies have been trending up steadily over the past 6 months. And you can't contrast it with basically with 2023. In 2023, you can see that there was a summer sourcing sprint that was basic, and then that was not supported by research activity in Q4 of the year. So it was not a lot of research activity there. Versus on the in Q4 in 2024, not only is there more research activity in general on companies, right? So deal makers are actively researching companies. There's also a lot of research activity in Q4, which basically indicating that there's for sure appetite in these deal makers for these deal makers to do deals. We also looked at the percentage of companies researched by each group. And once again, same kind of similar idea. There's an increase in research activity across the board. So there was a lot of research activity for, there was a lot of interest in AI companies. The challenge, with AI companies specifically, it might be that this is like noise because of the fact that there's just a lot of news around these AI companies. So it's to be seen whether that's going to result in any deals. And then finally, we've analyzed the research activities of companies on M&A related topics, and to understand their appetite for M&A. And we saw that there is an increase in research activity. There's an increase in research activity by them on M&A related topics as well, indicating there's interest for them to get acquired. And then comparing the research activity of deal makers by group and company interest, you can see that there is a positive delta for AI companies and data companies, right? So you can see that there are more AI companies researching like with high M&A scores and researching articles related to M&A than the deal makers percentage-wise, and same deal for data companies. And interesting enough, on the e-commerce side, there's not a ton of, it looks like there are fewer e-commerce companies that are researching articles related to M&A than deal makers. Same deal. It's software companies. It's maybe not right about even. Yeah. So yes, I'd say that's pretty much it. That concludes the presentation here. Happy to answer any questions. We have a little table out there in the hall, and you can reach out to me at alex@fintent.ai.